I have not been this invested in a shadow since Peter Pan losing his shadow and later trying to reattach it with soap in Wendy's room. But in Shady Part of Me, you will experience a puzzle platformer that aims to shine a light on mental health, all playing out on a beautiful watercolored canvas. Guiding the little girl and her shadow through carefully switching between the 2D and 3D gameplay, there is a dramatic sense of being part of two worlds as you play with the light and the shadow to help them on their way in this surreal world. And with a narrative told both in bold writing on the wall and in the voice of Hannah Murray, you will spend the 5 hours it takes to finish the game, helping the girl and her shadow overcome their emotional struggles. Not much is said about the girl and her shadow as you begin your journey with Shady Part of Me. Instead, you begin with a prologue that has you navigating the shadow while getting your first taste of the game's soundtrack and core mechanics. The different levels are named as sessions, but there are also 4 acts to progress through as you begin to explore a seemingly abandoned asylum with a little girl and her shadow. And it's not long before you are quickly introduced to the main goal of the game. A Shadow Part of Me wants to tell a story about how important mental health is, and where they feel the voice acting is not enough, they write the little girl's thoughts directly on the wall. In some parts of the game this works really well, but there are also places where large paragraphs of text becomes a quick fix to move the story along without the use of the game's talented voice actor. In the world of platformers, there will be no news when it comes to the core mechanics of the game. Instead, Shady Part of Me uses the ability to rewind time to let you get out of situations where you might make a mistake, and that part works really well and saves you a lot of time by not having you restart the whole session. Telling a story that takes place in the same space but still needs to feel like you're experiencing 2 completely different worlds is where Shady Part of Me really have put in some thought and effort. For the little girl in her 3D world, the fear of light is the main thing the story is based on, so you can never put her in direct light, and it's also in this world you will have to solve the game's various puzzles. Most of the puzzles are not overly complicated and will not hinder you and your progress for very long. Some may take a minute or 2, but there are some that are a bit more complex, so it's not an even experience throughout the game, and that could possibly add some frustration to your otherwise fluent playthrough. All of the puzzles feels different enough so that you do not feel like you are just being served a constant stream of similar puzzles over and over again. And even though a lot of them involve pulling and pushing boxes in the little girl's world, there are moments where the shadow has to interact with some of the items in order for them both to continue the journey, and reaching every level circle they have to stand on for unlocking the next level. But solving them can take you on the more memorable parts of the game, like sailing a large paper boat or even encounter with a dragon. The game also has collectibles in the form of little origami birds that allow you to add another level of difficulty to the various challenges if you choose to pursue them and collect them. This part of the game also adds a level of replayability, as you can later revisit the different locations to try and find the sometimes really well hidden birds that can be found in both worlds. Doing so will give you more of the story and the voice acting to enjoy. Since the little girl cannot jump, all your bread and butter jumping platformer action sequences are for the shadow character to participate in. And in that world, the dangers are in the form of thorny branches and clouds that offers short-term support. Switching between them is as simple as pressing a button, and to give you the feeling of stepping between 2 different worlds, the music changes slightly but smoothly depending on which world you are currently in. The voice acting for both the girl and her shadow comes from Hannah Murray, known from Game of Thrones. And while using well-known actors is not always an immediate recipe for success, she does her best using a rather high-pitched whiny voice to portray the girl, and for the shadow something that feels closer to her own speaking voice. It's not always 100% spot on, but the overall performance managed to give depth to the girl and the shadow in both the small bickering and the other conversations in a good way.
I'm sorry there's less to see here. It's better with my friends.
Are your friends gone?
Just for a bit. They don't like it here.
As this is the first game released by the developers Douze Dixièmes, it's an ambitious approach to telling a story about fear and phobia in a world brought to life by somber watercolors and backed up by a really good soundtrack. And where it falls short in the plot and origin story, it reclaims its rightful place among other great puzzle platformers like Limbo and Little Nightmares with their clever puzzles and interesting gameplay. So if you wish to play a short narrative-driven puzzle platformer with a fresh take on the platformer genre, Shady Part of Me might be exactly what you are looking for. But you know what? Let's not end this journey here. We have talked about the story, the gameplay, the soundtrack, and also what you will get if you decide to buy and play this game. So to give you the opportunity to experiencing even more amazing indie games, I have added another video that I think that you will love to the upcoming end screen. So see you there, and until next time, stay safe and stay awesome.